Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another edition of Soccer As We Like It, AFCON Special 2024. We are down to the final two. Eagles versus the Elephants of Africa, the host versus the African, I would say the most populous African country, but the Super Eagles, they soared, they saw, they conquered, they left, and they are now in the finals. Super Eagles went and beat Bafana of South Africa on penalties. That was a game. A lot of people thought Nigeria were just going to walk into this game. But I'll tell you, before we get into this, make sure you smash the like on our video, drop your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. As we have reached, this tournament started with a lot of ferocity, intensity. We started with 24 teams, 16, 8, 4, and now the final two. Nigeria against Bafana and the host Ivory Coast against Democratic Republic of Congo, the Leopards. So you got the elephants against the elephants against the leopards, eagles against Bafana, and we were going to experience a very fantastic, heated semi-finals. But first up was the Super Eagles of Nigeria against Bafana of South Africa, who they had beaten in the last previous three consecutive games. But the funny thing was when Nigeria went into this game in a lackadaisical, nonchalant, kind of sluggish way, South Africa were up for this game. They were ready for battle. They were ready for Zulu war against the Super Eagles, who started in a very sluggish way. But that midfield, the midfield of South Africa was so potent. They were right. They were ripping song. Before I go into that, let's see who started for Nigeria. Nigeria started. They kept the same team stability. They had one Billy as the goalkeeper. They have the same back four of Bassi, Ekong, and Ajayi as the three at the back. Then in the midfield, they had Iwobi, Aina, Onyeka, and Osayi Samuel. Then up front, Osimhen, Lukman, and Simon. But that midfield of Iwobi, Aina, and Onyeka and Osayi were overrun, and I mean overrun, because when you look at that Nigerian midfield, the most creative person there is Iwobi. And when they shackled Iwobi, there was nothing coming out of that attack. So what South Africa did, because South Africa's midfield consisted of Tau, Mokena, Stilua, and Zone. Them four guys suffocated Nigeria's midfield. They made sure Nigeria did not have any space. And they were the most dominant, especially Tau coming from the left. He had one of the best chances of the game in the first half. Tau had a good shot, which Nwabeli, the Nigerian goalkeeper, had to save. Then followed up by Magopa, who was the top striker for South Africa. He had a good chance, but he wasn't able to finish. But this game went like a ping-pong tennis game, back and forth, back and forth. But Nigeria sat back and allowed South Africa to dominate. South Africa had more possession. They had the better chances, but it didn't take till the second half. Nigeria woke up. And a beautiful move from Osimhen. He literally went through two defenders and he was brought down by Madubu, who now got a penalty, and Nigeria were able to have a penalty. This was coming to the 70th minute. You would have thought at that point, if Nigeria scored, it would be lights out. As they've done, they've not considered a goal in 5 games. So it meant they will game manage this. So up stepped Trossard Ekong, the captain of the Super Eagles, to slot the goal past goalkeeper Williams, the hero of the game against Cape Verde, when he saved 4 penalties. Ekong was able to put the ball right through the middle, and Nigeria were 1-0 up. At that point, Nigerians were celebrating, singing that song, Oshe, Oshe, Baba. But South Africans did not give up. Bafana, they continued to the very last. Then, this is where it got a bit confusing. A nice move down the right for Nigeria from Osimhen. He tapped. It was a good cross. Nigeria actually scored, but what was funny was Simon crossed the ball in the 90th minute, and Osimhen did a tap in. He was celebrating. He thought the game was done. Nigeria were in the finals at 2-0. But apparently, when they did the VAR, Aina had conceded a penalty by bringing someone down in the penalty box, and they were awarded a penalty. Can you imagine? After celebrating a goal you scored, they said, no, take the ball back. Your defender conceded a penalty earlier. Like, what the fuck was going on? Nigerians were shocked, outstanding, flabbergasted, and absolutely astonished, like what was going on. They had just scored, disallowed, but to now give the opposition a penalty, No one could understand that. But when you look at it back, he did concede the penalty. So at that point, up stepped Nigeria at that point were 1-0 leading. So leading 1-0, you would have thought Nigeria would have game managed this. But, this is the game of football. VAR said it was a penalty. And up stepped McKenna. Beautiful penalty, and the game was level at 1-1. So obviously we're going into extra time. But in extra time, Nigeria had to make changes. Iwobi was substituted. Osayi Samuel was removed. Onyeka was removed. So Nigeria made some changes. And they brought in Ihanacho. He came on for Nigeria. South Africa didn't make a lot of changes. They kept with the same team just to have that consistency because they dominated Nigeria in the midfield. I'll give you the stats of the possession. It's absolutely alarming. But I hope Nigeria would learn from this because South Africa were really a very organized team. They played like a team, a unit. Nigeria sat back, but were overrun in the midfield by the midfield four of South Africa. But as the game went on back and forth, South Africa still tried to find the chances and create the chances, but they just couldn't find the net. So at that point, it was the best chance of the game, the best chance in the extra time, and I mean the best chance to put his country in the final. Put his country in the final in extra time. As they say, football is a beautiful, funny game. It is what it is. You know what I mean? This is what you call football at its highest. I mean, it was well watched by a lot of, it wasn't the stadium wasn't full because they were not the host. When the game between Ivory Coast and Congo, that was packed to the max, full up to the rafters. But in this game, as I will say, the extra time, we're not in extra time point now. But what I'll say this: when it came to extra time, both teams had chances, but it just for some reason, even Lukman had a good shot in extra time, but the goalkeeper Williams was able to get it. But it just seems that South Africa had the cleaner, clear-cut chances than Nigeria. Mabiso had a chance. He missed in stoppage time. We should have ended the game for Nigeria, but he missed the opportunity to put his country in the final. Now it was down to sudden death. 5 penalties each. Winner takes it all. As Nigeria won the toss to take the penalty first, goalkeeper Williams, I think at that point, South Africa were confident that goalkeeper Williams, who saved 4 against Cape Verde, was going to save them at this time. But Nigeria, I think they had studied this guy and knew that he's always prepared to dive to the left or right. So they're putting the ball right down the middle. So up stepped Moffitt. Moffitt, during the game in extra time, was brought down just an inch away from the penalty box. And South Africa had the defender sent off because it was straight red. He was the last defender. Moffitt was running right through, and he was brought down. But Nigeria was given a penalty in which Henacho took, and the goalkeeper saved it. But in the penalty shootout, Nigeria started with Moffitt. Beautiful goal. South Africa missed the first penalty. Nigeria took the second penalty, and they scored. So when Moffitt scored, then they brought on one of the subs who took the penalty. I'll find his name now. He was really quite good, actually. His penalty was one of the best. He was calm and cool like a cucumber. He showed no hesitation. He had no fear because penalties is such a difficult game. But it's all about the mind and not change your mind at the last minute. You know what I mean? Omeruo took the second penalty for Nigeria, which gave Nigeria a 2-0 lead. Then South Africa took a penalty, and Wambili saved it. So Nigeria has got 1 penalty saved. At that point, it was 2-1. Then this is where it started to get tricky. Aina turned up for Nigeria's third penalty. He put the ball. Aina is the he is the defender who plays for Nottingham Forest. He put his penalty over the goalpost, so it gave South Africa some hope, and they scored. and it became 3-2. But Captain Trosset Ekong made it 4-2. South Africa missed again, and Nwabali made the brilliant. So Nwabali saved 2 penalties, and if this kick went in, the last Nigerian kick, if he scored, Nigeria in the finals. And Ihanacho, who was a sub, he's not really played much of games this tournament. I don't think he's even played any games this till now. He stepped up, experienced, beautiful left Leicester City striker, and he put the ball in net, and he sent the Super Eagles to the final. So the Eagles soared. They arrived, they conquered Bafana, and they are in the finals on Sunday. And that was the game. It was beautiful. It wasn't the spectacle, but it was a game of people who were fighting to win that game. It was a game of 2 brave teams, right? Bafana and the Super Eagles of Nigeria. And Nigeria is now in the finals. It was a celebration. It was a party in Nigeria. Everyone dancing and singing Oshe Baba all through. Oshe Baba. They were all singing and in delightful cheers. So our next game of the day was the host, Ivory Coast against Democratic Republic of Congo. In that game, it was a packed stadium. Everyone is betting. And I always say this, the host is always under more pressure, because once the host is knocked out, people don't go to the games as much anymore. You know what I mean? It's just the neutrals. If your country's not there, you're out there. But it wasn't a great game. But Sebastian Heller, an experienced 37-year-old guy who's a hero of the Ivory Coast, scored a goal. He actually mishit it, and that was the end of the game. 1-0, Ivory Coast beat Democratic Republic of Congo. But now the final is set. The dawn is set. The hour of decision is at hand. On Sunday, big names will be made. You have to stand up and make a name for yourself and make a name for your country. Super Eagles against the Elephants of Ivory Coast. The host against 3-time champions against 2-time champions. So is Nigeria going to win the 4th AFCON? Is Ivory Coast going to win the 3rd championship? Don't forget, Nigeria have lost in the last 4 semi-finals they've been to. So this was a relief to get over the line to get to the finals. They've been to 3. They've lost 3 finals to Cameroon, 84, 88, and 2003. But this is an opportunity for them to redeem themselves. Can Nigeria win? It's all done. I'll quickly run through the stats of the game, because that was the game everyone been talking about, Nigeria against South Africa. Let me pull up the stats for it very quickly before we round up our show today. But while you're watching, smash a like on our show. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to drop your comments what you thought about this game between Nigeria and South Africa, and game between Congo and the host Ivory Coast. So these were the stats I'll give you now. It was quite overwhelming. Nigeria had 39% possession, 39%. South Africa 61. Because Nigeria over this tournament, Nigeria they've not dominated teams. They've sat back and absorbed the pressure and hit most of them playing a counter, but they soak up and they hit on a break. But they don't dominate teams. So South Africa has 61% possession of the game, while Nigeria had 39. Nigeria had 14 shots. South Africa had 14 shots on target. Nigeria has 6. South Africa had 5. Nigeria has 5 corner kicks. South Africa had 4 corner kicks. Nigeria considered 22 free kicks. Bloody hell. And South Africa had 11. But other than that, this is going to be a great final for the country of Ivory Coast. It's been a great final. Don't forget, there's also the 3rd place match between South Africa and Democratic Republic on Saturday. Then on Sunday, the big final, AFCON, will finally come to an end. It's been a beautiful tournament. I loved it. I hope you loved it. I hope you enjoyed watching it on our channel. Don't forget to smash and like, subscribe, and drop your comments in the show. What you thought about the Super Eagles and South Africa. Can the Super Eagles win? Or will the host win? Don't forget, the hosts have the whole stadium right behind them. So the Super Eagles, can they soar high? The hour of decision will be made on Sunday afternoon. I'll see you guys on the next one. From me, it's goodbye and good night. I'll see you soon.